Welcome to our top 10 fantasy games, which I brought the fantasy expert with us, the man who knows everything about fantasy. So let's talk about making our top 10 list. What was your criteria for being included, not included? Because this is kind of a wide definition of what fantasy is, right?
Well, I thought at first, I went on Board Game and looked for, the advanced search for just all fantasy. But it's like everything. Caverna was fantasy,
right.
Which, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. So I just basically went down and to the level of, does it have fantasy races in it? The elves, goblins, things like that.
Like most things in life, you've broken it down into race, okay?
Yeah, there you go. And then...
Which is why Pedro's not here.
Well, there's no, hit points and mana. So
okay.
I threw that in. If it's got hit points and mana, that's very D&D.
Okay.
So, that's kind of where I went.
Okay. For me, fantasy was, I think of dwarves, elves, fighters, that whole kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I've never actually played Dungeons & Dragons or role-playing games, but I know what it is. Like the Supreme Court said about pornography, it's fantasy. I know it when I see it. I also excluded some games like Eldritch Horror, which I think is more horror.
I took that out too.
Blood Rage, which is more like Norse and monsters?
I mean, it's fantasy, I would say, but it's
it wasn't what we were going for.
Yeah, it's myths and legends.
Yeah, maybe that'd be better.
Yeah.
And Caverna feels more like a worker placement game than, even though it has dwarves in it, it just didn't feel right.
The dwarves could be anything.
Another game that I left off the list was Smash Up, which I would probably put more under sci-fi.
Yeah.
But it was listed under fantasy on Board Game Geek. So that's a game that I do enjoy but kept off the list. Yeah. Any honorable mentions that were close to your top 10 but didn't include?
So, well, there was a couple here that threw me off, which was Fortune and Glory. Now, I thought, Indiana Jones, you're fighting, there's fantastical creatures in it.
And Nazis.
There's all kinds of different things you're doing that is definitely in a fantasy world. But it's, not medieval. And since we were going for that, I kind of tossed that one. Nightfall.
Nightfall was almost for me. That's a game I enjoy on the iPad.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't think I've ever actually played the physical copy.
Yeah, so I threw that in because it's, werewolves, vampires, the very fantasy stuff, but it kind of fell more into the horror.
I think so too.
For me. Mistfall. There was a couple games on here that I own and I haven't played yet.
Yeah, so games that's a good point. So games that I haven't played obviously won't be on our list. Mistfall, Myth was one that might have made it. There was quite a few that I was going through. I was like, man, I know I like this game, or I think I like this game, but I haven't played it, so it's not on here.
So then my big one was Mage Knight.
Oh.
Now, Mage Knight, I know I'm supposed to love this game.
Yeah.
But every time I play it...
We've been bored.
I'm bored.
Remember we played that big slog, 5-hour slog with Aaron?
So everyone is like, oh, Mage Knight is awesome. Mage Knight's great. I read about all these forum posts about, Mage Knight's the greatest solo game ever. But every time I played it,
I'm bored.
No. So it's honorable mention for the fact somebody loves it. Just not me.
That's when I went, whoop, passed right over. I was Okay. Let's jump right into your number 10.
Okay. My number 10 is the penultimate.
It's a big word.
Warrior game.
Okay.
Game of Thrones 2nd Edition.
Great choice.
Yeah, it's got dragons. It's got castles. The only thing it doesn't have are elves and dwarves.
I am surprised you like this game because you're like the nicest human being I've ever met. And this game is about destroying people, and you hate social games, which this is a social game. Your epic fail at Spyfall is like legend in my family. And if we pull out deduction game, you're out. The social games you hate, but I'm actually surprised. Did you play this with us? Have I played this with you?
I've played this with
you. Played with me.
Yeah, I've played it several times.
Actually. And you lost terribly bad because you were like, let's be nice to everybody.
Well,
he literally brought cookies to the gaming session. He was like, I was going to be peaceful, like rainbows, and Bernie Sanders was probably there.
I think the second time I played it, I was much more dubious and kind of, snuck in. I almost won.
The real Dylan came out.
Yeah, and I, the only thing I think that kept me from winning was there was another person who had a few more points and they had done a few things better. But
that's usually how people win.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully.
I liked it, and that's why it's number 10. It's not my favorite, but I mean,
10's high on fantasy.
But for fantasy games,
and board gamedom, there's a lot of fantasy games. 10's high.
This is it, and
Are you doing city building? Like it's a little tough.
Yeah.
But fantasy, that's 10's a good choice. So I'm surprised.
I told you you'd be surprised on a couple.
Okay, my number 10 is Champions of Midgard. Maybe a cheat because this is a little bit more like Norse, maybe. I actually have a tough time because I'm not a fantasy fan filling out a list like this, but I wanted it to be good games that fit the theme. And I think this one was different enough on the list. This gave me that little light Euro feel. There's not a whole lot. A lot of fantasy is just dungeon dwell.
This one came on and off my list 2 or 3 times.
And I think it breaks my rules. So you're not going to see a lot like this. But it is neat how you have the worker placement, which I love.
Yeah.
You have some dice rolling for some luck. But probably not the strongest thematic fantasy, quote unquote. But Champions of Midgard is a fun game. Just do not read that rule book. It's terrible.
No. But good one.
Number 9.
My number 9. Okay, so I know we just talked about the whole horror thing.
Right.
But Touch of Evil.
Oh, really?
Touch of Evil is like...
You must be a fan of Flying Frog because you brought up Fortune and Glory.
Yeah, I like Flying Frog. Actually, those are my 2 favorite. Fortune and Glory and Touch of Evil. I think Touch of Evil kind of does that balance between fantasy and horror probably the perfect. Because you can tailor the game how you want it. If you add in a couple of the extra expansions...
Does it get better?
It gets better. Yeah, I mean...
I have a lot of Touch of Evil stuff.
Yeah.
When I first got into gaming, I liked Flying Frog, and I still do. And I bought a lot of it, and I have it, but it became just like the 4 little sections, and you go there and you get stuff.
No, you got if you add in a few more of the expansions,
it's better.
It is one of those games that builds on it. But the fantasy part of it is amazing, where you're instead of you're doing the typical I'm a fighter and I'm this and I'm that. The being able to go out and be the guy who's the soldier, and you get the Holy Cross and you're defeating the vampires. I mean, it really kind of hits.
Let's play this next week. I want to play this with you. Yeah, let's play this because you're enticing me, and I kind of thought maybe it was a better solo game.
Yeah, and a buddy of ours is going to be running a big game of it at Dice Tower.
Okay,
like the full every expansion and the whole thing. So,
all right, my number 9 is Legends of Andor, which is a beautiful game. It's really neat how the game teaches you to play. The rulebook actually teaches you to play by playing the game in the first mission. You read a little bit, and they're like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. It almost reminds me of a tutorial of a video game. The artwork is beautiful, Michael Manzelli, I believe, and it is just a really neat game. Now, it becomes more of a puzzle, so I put this in my puzzle section. You're trying to figure out, you only have so many moves, really, because there's a timer in the game. Have you played this one?
No.
You like this one. These
never
are some expansions I want to get.
Yeah.
It plays well. Very, very good solo.
Yeah.
But Legends of Andor, I wish there was more material for this. I'm a little disappointed that there's standees instead of minis, but it keeps the cost down. It is what it is.
I had to pick between this and Mistfall. I was trading a game with somebody, and Mistfall won out just because it seemed like it had some more interesting card mechanics, and I didn't know much about it.
I should let you borrow it so you can solo it up.
Yeah.
Number 8, sir.
Number 8. My number 8 is Defenders of the Realm.
Pandemic with dice.
Yes, but it's Pandemic that's more fun, I think.
Do you?
Yeah, because you have a fantasy guy that you're playing. You're the dwarf or you're the paladin, and you're running around and you're slaying these monsters, and there's 4 big bad bosses coming down the pipe towards your home castle.
You haven't played the new version of this. I just got it in the mail. I have it if you want to play it.
What's the new version now?
It's just the second edition. Everything's there and it's bigger. I don't know if the rule.
Yeah.
Then there's like a Last Stand version coming out with like a apocalyptic type thing, which I heard is going to have some different stuff to it. But I just got the new Kickstarter, so if you like it this much, we should check it out.
Yeah.
I think I introduced you to this game, right?
You did, yeah.
Yeah, we played it.
Yeah.
I agree that it might be better than Pandemic. It's more luck induced, but it gives you kind of an unknown.
I mean, this game is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played this like 6 or 7 times. I think we've won like twice. I mean, it is not a game that you can take lightly. You have to really work at it.
Yeah, and the dice have to go in your favor a little bit. My number 8 is Fire Team Zero, which is fantastical more than fantasy, I guess. And it's one of those things where I put it on the board, but it's a little bit different, as in it's a fantasy world. It's not set in the real world, but there's monsters and stuff coming out. If you pushed me, I'd probably say it's more horror, but it's listed under fantasy. Have you played this one?
No.
It's pretty new. It's a Kickstarter. It's not going to be a huge thing, 'cause I don't much see it getting outside the Kickstarter realm.
Yeah.
But it's a really neat little thing. It's the game I kind of wish Ghostbusters would have been. But Fire Team Zero is just one of those things where you have a mission kind of like Descent, and you're on the board and you're shooting people down.
This is brand new, right?
Brand new, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I've had it for a month or two.
Yeah. I've never seen it yet.
Fire Team Zero. We should play it sometime. Okay. Number 7, sir.
My number 7 is harkening back to, the old days. Hero Quest and Warhammer Quest.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't own anymore because I gave it away to a cousin of mine when I was younger.
It's dumb.
I know. Yeah.
Stupid.
Well, looking back. But yeah, I mean, this is it. You're the fighter. You're the dwarf. You're the.
Tell me the end of the
wizard.
story. That cousin sold it for crack money.
I think he probably just destroyed it.
And crack money, I mean, a strip club. And that's a warning for
We're
everybody
from
watching.
Kentucky. It was meth.
Oh, that's right.
So
you give him your War Quest, your
I had
Hero
Hero
Quest?
Quest.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah. So I had Hero Quest. That was probably.
How do you think that game holds up?
It holds.
Descent?
I used to get together with several friends, and they would play Hero Quest on like a Tuesday night.
Was it nostalgic? Or
Yeah,
is it still a
it's
good
not
game?
nostalgic though. It's actually fun. Because what they would do is we actually played it like a campaign. You kept your stuff from level to level, and they got into a point where you could even just hand make the missions and stuff. So it was fun.
This is like one of the first real board games I had as a kid. I remember having this, and my cousin would play, but really not playing it.
Yeah, I mean back then I didn't really know how to play it that much. We just threw the stuff down and ran around and fought the monsters and things. But now Warhammer Quest was the advanced version. Oh. That was like you were into D&D, and I mean it would simulate an entire dungeon. You could play it as what do they call it with Descent now, where the person is
like campaign mode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the dungeon was automated when you turned over cards and the monsters did things. So that was that was the first time I think I'd ever seen it.
I thought Gears of War did that really well with the AI.
Yeah.
And that game didn't hit off as well. My number 7, I do this a lot in my top 10s.
Uh-oh, here we go.
But it's a mashup. So it's Descent for older, and it's Mice and Mystics if you want something a little lighter. I think Mice and Mystics plays really well. My daughter loves Mice and Mystics. She asked me. We don't play it for real because she can read now, but she couldn't read when we started it, and still couldn't comprehend all the reading in that game.
Right.
The cards and all that.
Yeah.
But so Descent, if you want something to run around, and this is going to be your classic fantasy game, right? Yeah. Descent. You don't like the 2.0. I've never played 1.0.
My complaint with these two games is they're dice fests. I mean, they are, if you want to use the term Eurotrash, this is it. You basically just run up against something, roll a bunch of dice. I don't get a lot of fantasy feel from it, though. They all turn into scenarios where you have to do X before Y time runs out.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not...
That 1.0 wasn't like that, right?
Yeah, right. 1.0 had a little bit less of that and a little bit more of the quirky, you open the door and monsters appear type thing.
Kind of like the Ravenclaw, the D&D box. What is that? Wrath of Shardin and all those.
Yeah, the D&D adventure games.
Yeah. Well, I put it on 7. Yeah. It's one of those games like I respect from afar, and I think I would want to play it solo more than I do.
Yeah.
But I don't. So I like it from afar. But Mice and Mystics is going to be really fun for me and my kids.
Mice and Mystics is probably the best one of the bunch for me.
Number 6, Nichols. What do you got?
Rune Wars.
Classic.
You called it. It was here. I think this is probably the best war game that I play. War game. It is a war game. At the end of the day, it's a war game. However, you have the 4 different fantasy races. Your heroes can go on little mini quests. You've got elves and skeletons fighting each other. So
the 4 factions do feel different.
Yeah.
The hero thing kind of feels tacked on, like, okay, let's stop the game and do the hero thing.
Well, they fixed a little of that in the expansion.
Okay, yeah, I agree. And then the new version 2.0 was just a new box, right?
Right. It's just not a coffin box.
And the components aren't as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rune Wars is a really great game. I agree with you that this is a really fun 3 or 4 player game. I think you can play 2 player too.
Yeah, I wouldn't play it over 2 player.
I think 4 player is probably the best, and because 3 times you get like you two are fighting, so I win.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're not really dominating the board or getting those dragon
Well,
stones.
this is a game too that you don't have to fight to win.
Yeah, you don't.
Which is also is really really high on my list because games like TI and Rune Wars, you can go through the entire game and never fire a shot.
Right.
I mean, there are multiple paths to victory, so you're not just throwing guys.
Just don't play with Aaron, because if you attack him, you're dead.
It's over.
Yeah. What are we on? 6. My number 6 is Defenders of the Realm, which we talked about. Pandemic Light. I put this a little bit higher than you because I feel like it has the dragons and the expansions, and you have like all the different characters you can bring in it, which all bring a special ability to it. So I liked it quite
definitely.
a bit. Number 5, the top half of the fantasy world.
This is one you're going to be interested in.
Okay.
Alchemists.
Oh, never played it.
Okay. Well, you are wizards making potions, and you're trying to make the best potions, and at the same time, you have to figure out what all of the ingredients for the potions you're mixing are.
I don't really like wizards.
Yeah, no wizards for you, huh?
Harry Potter's okay. Is he in the game?
No, he's not. Most of these are wizards.
What's a wizard, like Dumbledore?
Dumbledore, Gandalf, yeah.
Okay.
But this game is
the worker placement.
It's a worker placement. It's got a logic puzzle to it. There's victory points that you're working towards. You're completely screwing over your.
So this is the opposite of Wiz War.
Yeah, completely opposite of Wiz War. But yeah, I'll walk you through this and teach it to you sometime. But,
I like that.
This is a heck of a game.
I think I have it or I've seen it. I can't remember, but yeah, I have to. The wizard thing just throws me where I'm just.
I mean, they could be anything really.
Could they be farmers?
They could be farmers making the best squash.
Could they be international bankers? My number 5 is Game of Thrones. Wow. And I have to admit, I'm amazing at this game. I've yet to lose.
Yeah.
I'm the best conniving person that you could ever meet. Of course, now that I said that, you're gonna try to defeat me, but then you will become friends with me and pack with me. I'm pretty amazing at this game, right?
I mean, we've played it 3 times at Dice Tower Con, and all 3 times you win it or you've tied. Now, whether that's you or your opponents, I'm not sure.
I have randomly been assigned to Lannisters a lot.
Yeah.
Who I'm told are the worst people to be. So I think those victories have a little bit more.
Having played the Stark before, House Stark was pretty rough.
Well, I think they're all pretty rough. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Like the Lannisters, I feel like you really have to get people to buy into you, which is really hard because I played with people before that was like, this is your best strategic decision to... Nope, you're a Lannister. Not doing it.
Yeah,
not going to do it.
You don't exactly have a good reputation starting the game.
I do want to play sometime without being the Lannisters.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid to play it again because I'm undefeated. Like, I know a loss is coming, right?
Once you need to drop the mic and walk away.
Yeah, that's what I feel like I do. But I have so much fun with it. And it's really a social game. So, Game of Thrones is my number 5. Number 4, sir.
My number 4 is Thunderstone. Any version, pretty much. I think the older versions I didn't care for as much as the advanced Thunderstone new version.
You still have this game?
Oh yeah.
Who do you play it with?
I play it solo. I kick it out every once in a while when somebody says, "Hey, let's play Dominion," and I say, "Let's play this instead."
See, I'd be like, "Let's play Legendary."
Yeah. So this is my. You like Legendary.
Flavor of the week with deck builders.
Yeah. So I take Tom Vassal's Epic Thunderstone. I set that up and I play that every once in a while because you mix up.
I'd play this again. I didn't decide yet. I'd play it again. I think I've only played it once or twice.
This is a neat solo mode too, where the monsters are kind of walking down the aisle towards your town, and you have to kill them before they get there and stuff. I mean, and it's quick to set up. You can there's a program on my phone that I can create a quick here's the 12 decks to put out type thing, and zip through this in an hour.
I think this is a theme that turns me off a little bit. Like it's not necessarily my theme. So there's so many deck builders. You can literally just there's business, there's superheroes, there's cake eating. I mean, you can pick whatever theme you want with deck builders.
But I mean, as far as fantasy deck builders go, I mean, this is the.
Oh, I would agree with that.
This is the guy.
What else is there?
I mean, there's Nightfall.
Okay.
You know, maybe Dominion in a way. Dominion kind of.
Dominion. Okay. Mine is going to be what I call my 2-player. So I'm going to break this up again depending on what you want. You have Claustrophobia, which is I think a little bit simpler, but has a really neat where you take damage, then you can't assign the die there kind of thing. Claustrophobia is a really good game. Have you played this?
Yes.
We played it together,
Yeah.
I think. Mm-hmm. And then the second half of that will be, I think, is a little bit more. Just a little bit more to its Battle War.
Yeah. I don't like Battle War.
You don't?
Never cared for it.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think it was because it's much more
Poor taste, obviously.
It's much more war gamey, and
I think that's fair.
But
it's more like battles of fantasy creatures and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where Claustrophobia is one guy's playing the monsters, the other guy's playing
Claustrophobia is amazing.
Yeah, they're criminals that are assigned to go down there and fight the monsters. So that's really Claustrophobia is really cool.
And that has a cool asymmetrical gameplay where one guy is playing the monsters and all the creatures and trying to put traps out, while you're these guys trying to get through the dungeon to accomplish whatever mission it is, and then get out again alive. That's the part that always kills me. Is once you win the mission, you still have to get out alive.
Yes.
And every time it's like a running battle to get out of the game again.
And if this would have been Final Fantasy or Cool Mini or not, this would be huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Claustrophobia or Battle War. All right, let's see what's in your top 30% here.
All right, so my number 3, Dungeon Lords.
Still haven't played it.
No? Oh, we got to fix that. So yeah, I mean, worker placement. You're a dungeon master. You're hiring monsters to.
Is this kind of like Galaxy Trucker?
No. This is. It is at the heart of it. It's a worker placement game.
That has my interest.
But these heroes are coming along every year to come into your dungeon, and you have to prepare for them.
This just had a collector's edition, right?
Yeah.
I think I got the collector's edition. I kickstarted it.
Yeah, and so and you're building up in different rooms, and your imps are taking things, and there's victory point keys at the end where if I have X number of these type of monsters, I get so and so many victory points. I mean, the strategies on it are just out through the roof. I mean, it's
that designer Vladi, he has some interesting games. Not all of them I like, which who does? But
I'm really surprised you haven't played this one or the Dungeon.
I think it's the rule book.
Yeah, Dungeon Pets is the follow up to.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Which has got a lot. It's a little lighter themed, but you get to clean up monster poop. So,
you had me there. I love doing that. Number 3 for me is going to be a Storming the Castle category. So I got 2 for you. I got the lighter one, which is Castle Panic. That's a really cool little co-op. You can play it solo, family-oriented, protect the castle.
Tower defense.
Tower defense, that's the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second that's a little bit more intense. I'm not sure you played Stronghold. Did we play that together?
I have seen it. I haven't played
Game's
it.
great. It's great.
Now, the new one or the old one?
I have both. I've only ever played the new one.
Okay. Yep.
I was taught that. Me and my friend Mike Peterson played it. 2
players only, right?
Yeah, 2 players only. One person's in the castle, one person's storming the castle. We should play this. I would. You're going to be overwhelmed at first a little bit, but it's going to take a little while. But once you get it, it's really neat decisions that you have.
It has got a worker placement function to it, right? I mean, isn't the guy in the castle? Don't they pick?
Yeah. So whatever I do, I give you time, and then you spend that time to do actions.
Yeah.
So yeah, in a way.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've never played.
It's really good. I like it a lot. But you will get beat by somebody who knows what they're doing.
And the fantasy part of this is the race attacking you are all monsters,
goblins and orcs and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's find out, Dylan, what your favorite fantasy game almost was.
Almost.
What's number 2?
Small World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's this fantasy more than flying skeletons?
Not much.
Tunneling dwarves.
This collector's edition, a lot of these have collector's editions, like the fantasy ones. Mm-hmm. I found the app to be better, though.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I think, the last time I was with you. And there's games that the app have just replaced.
Yeah.
This is one of them. I mean, I get this out on the iPad and play asynchronous with 3 or 4 people. The game's over in 20 minutes. So it just, there's no no competition to pulling out the board game. But now the board game is cool though because it has really nice, colorful pieces. I use this as a gateway game. I can sit.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
I can play this with people who haven't played a lot of board games, and all they need to understand is how many pieces of cardboard are there on the spot.
Yeah.
And if you can get them to understand that concept, they can play this game.
Yeah, it's a great choice. Great choice. My number 2 is going to be, once again, a heavier version and a lighter version, but it's really the same game.
So basically, this is a top 15, 20 for you?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Is War of the Ring, but then the lighter version's Battle of the Five Armies. Like, I like War of the Ring so much better. Battle of the Five Armies by itself would not even make this list.
It surprises me this isn't your number 1.
Yeah, it's not. And I get to my number 1, I'll have an explanation for that. But
the idea that behind this game is it just screams fantasy. I mean,
yeah, this is Lord of the Rings in a box.
Rings, yeah.
You played this with me?
Yes.
We played together?
Yeah, and I've played it a couple times before.
With me?
No, with other folks.
Have you played this with me?
Yeah, you killed me.
Yeah.
It was pretty pitiful.
Yeah.
This falls into
we played so many games, I can't.
Yeah. This falls into my war game category. I don't play war games very well. If you put guys on a map and throw them at each other, it's just not my. I've never really kind of.
Have you played as the Fellowship?
Yes.
Okay, because that's a little bit less war gaming.
Yeah.
War of the Ring and Battle of the Five Armies, just as an aside, War of the Ring is a war game, I guess, at heart for the one side, for the Mordor. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
Whatever. The bad guys.
The bad guys, Sauron.
The good guys, you got a little bit more to handle. So if you're the experienced player, should play the good guys, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get the ring into Mordor. I mean, everything from Rivendell on is in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, and then with the expansion, you have even more, and even like the heroes and the Ents, and you have Treebeard. You have Gandalf the Grey becoming Gandalf the White. I mean, literally, Strider becomes Aragorn. Everything is in
play
this
the
game.
Books. I mean,
and it's not complicated, right?
No, it's not complicated.
It's not complicated at all. I don't know how they get all this in there with such few rules. I mean, there's some rules, nitty-pitty. Really, if you just kind of... Some of those things like stacking armies and the card play, you can't do it wrong.
The most complicated part of this is probably just figuring out how to get victory points.
Yeah.
I mean, once you kind of get that idea down, you can play this game.
And really, if you can get somebody to teach you this game, even better.
Yeah.
But the rule book is actually pretty good. I have the collector's edition of this, which is just one of the most beautiful games you met.
Now, the second one just came out, and that one doesn't have all the new collector's editions like the one you have.
Okay.
Right?
I pre-ordered it. I don't have it yet.
Okay. So yeah, I was on the fence of buying the new one. But I just decided you already had all this, and I'd probably never play it with anybody else. So
it's a good heirloom to have. Like, that's one of those games. There's quite a few collector's editions that maybe are worth it or worth not. This is one that I think, despite the price, if you can afford it and you have the extra cash or whatever, like, I feel like it's worth it. Like, it's a game that I'll play for generations, and I could see a father and a son or daughter. Don't get angry.
But you're going to whip this out when you're 60 years old and sit down and play it with,
I'll sit down
your grandkids?
Well, I was going to play with you, but I guess the strong message you're sending me. So number 2, War of the Rings went a little bit lighter, Battle of the Five Armies.
Right.
So I was thinking the other day, I was like, what is the number 1 fantasy game according to Dylan Nichols?
I've already given it to you.
Oh.
Told it to you before. My number 1 game of all time.
Number 1 game of all time. Wait, let me guess. Ticket to Ride.
No.
With Alvin and Dexter.
No.
Power Grid.
No.
Go ahead.
Not even on my top 10. Runebound.
I remember playing this with you when I first met you.
Yeah. So this, like I said, I said this.
This is the part of Rune Wars where you're just the hero part, right?
You're just the hero. You're running around. You're trying to, do your quests. But I used to play role-playing games years ago.
Did you LARP?
No. But we...
I like how people who play role-playing games, I don't LARP.
No,
I don't do that kind of stuff. That's nerdy.
It's like, do you play Monopoly? No, I just... We had a group of guys, and we used to play Dungeons and Dragons. As we got older, though, and got out of college and away from each other, you just can't really do those. Now, Runebound, I found one day in a shop and bought it on a lark. And was like, oh wow.
Not a LARP, a lark.
A lark.
You didn't buy it on a LARP.
No.
Okay.
Just a lark. And here's this game that basically...
Is this before you got into gaming?
This is literally how I got into gaming. And here's this game that, you could basically have a D&D session in one night. And so I was hooked after that.
How does this compare to the D&D series, Ravenclaw and all those? Ravenloft or Cloth?
Ravenloft.
Ravenloft.
Those are much more like Descent.
Okay.
You open a door, monsters jump out.
Okay.
You either,
I've played Runebound with you, but it's been, when I first meet you, like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, it's been a while.
But Runebound's more of a race. Think like Lewis and Clark.
Ooh, I like this.
I mean, you have...
I remember that, like, you had to go over the mountains and you had to have the dice.
Yeah, but you have X number of turns and you're competing against everybody else. If you don't get going and you don't continue on and keep up with everybody else, they're going to get to the end before you. And so, that's kind of the push, that competitiveness to keep going.
Is it play good 2-player?
I would probably only play it with 2 or 3 players, gotcha. 3 max, and that is its downfall.
Now it doesn't have the 3rd edition, which is the one you have, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't have all the expansions that the second one has.
No, they just announced 2 expansions for
it. They're going to bring out a lot for that.
Yeah, I hope so, because...
now, did the 3rd edition, you got rid of the whole 2nd edition?
I only had a few things from the 2nd edition because...
tell us the main difference between the 3rd and the 2nd.
2nd edition has dice combat.
Okay.
3rd edition has the tile combat.
Tile? Oh.
Yeah, you drop these tiles. Think like Warhammer Disc Wars.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the skills and how your characters level are different. The first one was the 2nd edition was very much D&D. Your characters leveled up. You bought weapons. You bought
neat,
things.
Yeah.
This one's got some other neat mechanics to it with the 3rd edition. I like the 3rd edition. I actually sold the 2nd edition to a friend, just because I already had the 3rd.
Friend dumping a game you don't like on him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and his son would play it. So
my number 1 is Rune Wars. Now we've talked about Rune Wars. Rune Wars sentimental to me, man. It was a game that we bonded and became friends over. So I picked number 1 for that.
Number 1, yeah.
It has a soft spot in my heart because of this guy.
Yeah.
Because when we first met, we played the heck out of this game.
We did.
Me, you, and Aaron would play this game. Like this is our meetup game.
This was his game, yeah.
I was still shady, and you guys were friends. And I was a new guy. I think I bumped somebody out of the group, right?
I can't remember.
There was like a 3rd guy. I always heard this rumor about this 3rd guy who just moved away when I met you guys.
Yeah, we never liked him to begin.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, Rune Wars is...
And Rune Wars has the best story ever of this guy that we met. Remember this? And we were going to play at my house next time, so I invited him. Remember this?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, sorry, I can't. I am not allowed to legally leave the county because of my crimes. Yeah. Do you remember this?
He was on parole, and he wasn't allowed to...
And he rode off on a bike, and we were like, so glad he didn't come over. And we never saw him again. Have you ever seen him again?
Never saw him again. No.
That's my best Rune Wars story.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, though.
Sure. A lot of criminals are nice guys. I mean, you do something pretty bad, you can't... What would you possibly do to not be in jail but not allowed to leave the county?
Yeah, I think he was DUI or something similar.
Oh. Yeah. Well, then you could still get a ride.
Yeah. So.
Okay, that's our top 10. Any surprises on my list?
No, not really. I mean, I thought the main... I knew both of us would have Rune Wars, and I knew you would have War of the Ring, and I knew Game of Thrones would come up at least on one of ours. After that, I thought, maybe I might surprise you with a couple ones that you didn't expect from me, but...
Yeah, when I first met you, it seemed like you liked those dice-chucking games more, but you've kind of evolved from that.
I did. I used to like them.
Yeah, you used to like them a lot.
As time has gone on, though, I have...
It's harder for me to get you to play them.
Yeah, I've really kind of gotten to a point where I don't, those don't...
Not fantasy, but like, you didn't take the Star Wars game, Imperial Assault at all, which really shocked me. I got that thinking that you'd be one of the biggest people to play with me.
Yeah.
And you were just kind of like,
I've really kind of gotten into a lot of the more economic Euro games lately.
I think it's my effect on you.
Yeah, I think so. I really do.
What should we say to Pedro for not being here?
Too bad, so sad.
Are you replacing him full time now?
Well, we'll have to see about that. But
Well, put some comments in, guys. Tell Dylan that we need more of Dylan in videos. He has a different voice. You can like and subscribe to this and share it if you can. Help us out. And we'll see you next time for our top 10 on the topic of
something.